All right, moving on. Question number 6 comes in from Will. Hi there, Will. Thank you for your question and for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. So Will says, I'm a first-time buyer and I put an offer in on a property that I fell in love with. I just received a comprehensive surveyor's report in which it says the roof needs to be redone soonish and the wiring needs to be redone, etc. My question is the surveyor mentioning these things to cover himself, or does this work really have to be done? All right, well, thank you for your question. Nice and concise there with what's happened for you. You haven't mentioned exactly what type of report you've had done here, Will, but I'm going to assume that it's something like a home buyer's report or a building survey. It's perhaps a little bit, you said it's comprehensive, so I'm going to assume that it's something of that ilk. One of the things I'm going to encourage you to do, Will, is to step back from this and just read that report very sort of methodically and carefully to try and understand exactly what's being said by the surveyor. And the reason I'm saying this is, first of all, it's educational, but secondly, if it is a comprehensive report like you've just mentioned, it can seem like you're being asked to spend an awful lot of money on the property based on the surveyor's suggestions. But actually, once you read it again at a greater detail, you might realize that it's not as bad as you first thought. And I've had this many times where, property investor friends have said, "Oh, Silas, you're a surveyor. I've just had this survey done. I think the house is falling down." I said, "Well, send me the report." And I read through the report, and there's a lot of caveats, as you've sort of touched on here, Will. But actually, the property, in my opinion, was absolutely fine. And there was some recommendations that were being made about things to budget for during the future life expectancy of the property. And I'm going to again draw some assumptions here, and I could be incorrect, so correct me if I am wrong here, Will. But if the property, unless the property is completely derelict or falling down, which it's unlikely to be, because then first of all, I'm going to suggest as a first-time buyer you wouldn't be buying a property like that, and secondly, if you were, you've probably got a little bit of nous about you that you've maybe had some experience of doing up properties before, or you've got family members who are going to go on this journey with you and help you. So unless, as I say, it's completely derelict or there's severe roof movement or there's major problems, such as roof spread, which is exactly as it suggests, the roof is starting to spread for whatever reason, it's very unlikely, I would suggest, that the roof needs wholesale replacement. I would suggest that's not the case. Read that report. Is it things like the surveyor suggesting some of the lead work needs to be redone, such as in a valley gutter? Maybe there's some lead work there that's starting to look like it needs replacement. Is there any lead work around joints in the roof, such as where a chimney comes through the roof and there's lead work around there? Does that need replacing? Or has the surveyor suggested that actually the life expectancy of the roof covering, let's say it's slate, for example, maybe 10 years. It might have 10 years remaining, and you should then budget for replacement of the roof covering within the next sort of 5 to 10 years. That might be actually what's being suggested, and I would suggest having a reread will clarify things in your mind. You start to realize, oh, okay, I don't need to whip off the entire roof and replace it, which would be enormously expensive. I only need to look at maybe doing this in the future, there would be a budget made for that, which might, and listen carefully here, Will, because this is something you might want to take on board. If the surveyors suggested that there will be significant costs to be spent on this, that it might be a case of going back to the agent who's selling the property and renegotiating the purchase price to take into account the work that's been identified on the survey report. Okay, that's something to think about. Again, things like the wiring, it may not be a wholesale replacement of the wiring. It might be an update of the wiring, such as replacement of the consumer unit or the fuse board, as it used to be known. If that's outdated and the surveyor thinks, actually that needs to be replaced, that might be a £500 to £1,000 job as compared to a rewire, which might be a £5,000 to £10,000 job, depending upon the size of the house. You know what I mean? So just have a reread and a reflection on what's actually being said in the report. As I say, sometimes people get so scared and put off by these books. By these by these reports. Some of them do look like books, to be honest. Some of them I've seen. I think probably the best surveyor's report I ever saw was a surveyor looked at this thatched cottage in the country. It was like part 1600s and part 1500s. Beautiful, beautiful house in the country. But this guy, I think he spent something like 8 hours at the property inspecting it. He was an absolute perfectionist. And the report came back like this. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, I'm shocked at the size of that report. But he got into all sorts of detail. And in the end, he gives the property a clean bill of health. But what a mountain of information as a buyer for that type of property to have at your disposal to, program in the kind of work that maybe needs to be done in the future, and to make allowances in your budget and your planning for actually what needs to be done to keep that property in tip-top condition. Okay, so hope that helps, Will. As I say, if you want to send me the report, I'll happily look it over for you. I'll happily go into a little bit more detail and we can have a one-to-one about what's actually going on there. But I think once you've reread it and you start to take things in the context of what I've just suggested in this video, it'll give you a bit more of a clue as to what's actually being said rather than fearing the worst. Okay, so good luck with that, Will, and hope you get the keys to your new home very soon. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you here again this week. Thank you so much indeed for your questions. As I said earlier on, if you want to submit your questions to us, there's various ways you can get in contact with us. The first is via email. You can send your questions in to us via our email address, which is happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. That's happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. You can also submit questions via our website, which is wiggyWam.co.uk. That's wiggyWam.co.uk. Set up your free profile on there. Join the amazing WiggyWam community. Get involved. There's all sorts of resources on there, videos that we've produced in terms of taking you through the journey of buying and selling a property, and a whole bunch of other really exciting resources on there. So get involved on the website. Make sure you sign up there. You can also submit questions via our Twitter account, which is at WiggyWam_UK. That's at WiggyWam_UK. And we'll be back same time next week doing this once again. Very much looking forward to seeing you all again. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be of service to you. And if you haven't yet got your copy of Home Buyer Secrets, I'm going to encourage you to do that, because I think the spring market is going to be pretty intense in a lot of different ways, and you definitely need to know some of the insider secrets that we're sharing in this book. So go to homebuyerssecrets.co.uk and grab yourself a copy of that book. You'll also get part of access to our full training video series, which will actually guide you through in greater detail than I can go into in the book, through the process of buying and selling a property, which will be fantastic. So if there's anything else that we can do to serve you guys, please do let us know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place next week, and have an amazing week. Lots of love, God bless, and see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.